Everything that they stand for convinced me that the left is not a death cult, because everything that they stand for, both legislatively and ideologically, just relate to the demise of society. Whether it's obesity, whether it's how hard they push for abortion, whether it's allowing all these crimes and murders to happen in the cities, everything that you look at with them leads to depopulation. Even everything with same sex, it's like they don't even want heterosexual couples to be able to have kids. They're wanting to sterilize kids with the trans stuff. Everything that the left does leads to death. Has anybody else noticed that?
Yeah. And that's why I was saying, like, I don't think they like you very much. Like, you go to your politician and the Republican guy says, hey, man, you should have more kids. It's like, okay, he's basically telling you to survive. He likes you. There should be more of you. These Democrats go, have you considered aborting that baby? And it's like, that's something you would say to someone you don't like.
Buckle up, because the Bank of England has a wild new plan that's going to turn the digital world upside down. They're introducing a digital pound, and guess what? Brits are only allowed to have 20,000 digital pounds each. In other words, the world of CBDC officially has...
And carrying one of the 8-year-olds to the car, and then we eventually got him to medical treatment. The 8-year-old little girl couldn't speak. She couldn't talk. She couldn't do anything at all. So when we finally turned him over and they took him to the hospital and stuff, and I talked to the doctor in regards to what was going on, I got a call from him, and he said, basically, professional in the medical field. I just wanted to let you know, the little 8-year-old girl had 67 different DNA samples inside.
It's shocking.
It's shocking. 1,900 food production companies in the past year have been destroyed. The two largest egg manufacturers in the United States have burnt down in the past 36 hours. We've had 2 planes smash into meat processing centers. And the only commonality amongst all of them are these 2 things. They make food for Americans, and it's on American land.
Last year, the National Park Service provided $102.2 million for the San Francisco National Maritime Historical Park. This was the second most expensive project funded. Can you tell me which congressional district this project is located in?
It is in Congresswoman, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi's district.
Right, California 11, represented by Speaker Pelosi. National Park Service maintenance in Nancy Pelosi's district, which is almost a quarter. It's 24% of the total funding your agency received last year to address deferred maintenance nationwide. Do you know how many states have deferred maintenance backlogs that could have been fully addressed using this funding?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, it's 37. Last year, the National Park Service provided...
We're out here in the middle of the Arizona desert during one of the worst mega droughts of the past 1,200 years. So you might be surprised to know that a Saudi Arabia, because it uses too much water. The Attorney General of Arizona says this is an outrage. She says this is scandalous, and she's trying to get these leases, which are on state-owned land, canceled, so this will...
U.S. just announced they're getting ready for war with China and Russia simultaneously, because we can't just do one without the other, right? See, this is what happens when people start to lose power. They get very dangerous, and the U.S. is quickly losing power. This week...
This is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. It is the inventory and control plan, inventory and control of all land.
When I talked to you before about the future, it's not very far off the horizon that if we don't get one disease under control, you may find legislative bodies taking whole classes of people based upon propensity of conduct.
Real warrior for women and conservative.
Well, I got some disappointing news for those of you that were getting excited about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. running for president and debating Joe Biden. And the reason why you will have disappointment is because the Democrat Party has announced there will be no primary debates between Joe Biden and any Democrat.
In the year 2024.
We're living in a simulation. This is an actual...
Well, I've been a journalist for...
Guess who pays the highest taxes? Small business.
Yeah.
Well, that's why when Biden says they're going to appoint 87,000 IRS agents, I know who he's going after. He's not going after the employees. He's going after small business.
Why do you think they're doing that?
Because small business can't afford the attorneys and the accountants to fight them.
Why do they want to go to war with the middle class?
Because that's what Klaus Schwab wants.
And why does Klaus Schwab want that?
Because someday you'll own nothing and they'll be happy.
What's the greater agenda?
Communism. Guess who paid?
The Chinese yuan currency has outperformed the dollar by volume.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach.
This is a moment.
We never learned about the history of education. I started questioning what I was doing as a teacher by reading the book Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto. I love that book so much that I decided to read other books by him, and one of the books that he wrote is An Underground History of American Education. I read through that whole book and became absolutely convinced that if people knew the history of American education, we would not be doing what we're doing. Here are some cool.
This is a pretty strange story.
Attention to debt bondage. What do you mean when you...
So I'm here looking this up, and it's so crazy because it's literally, it's right here. The African American trademark was assigned a serial number.
And this is how they plan on taking the money off of the street.
Things are changing fast in this digital world, so much so that a growing number of businesses will not even accept cash anymore.
Yeah, they are starting to set up reverse ATMs. It quickly turns...
Listen to this. You really need to listen to me right now. This is of extreme importance. So check this out, man. As we know, Jerome Powell and the Fed, which is a separate entity from the United States government, says something, and I quote, "We don't care about interest costs. When we make monetary policy, we are worried about price stability and maximum employment." So what happens is he also said that America is the largest economy in the world, and they think that this debt that we have is sustainable. First of all, they think that $31 trillion in debt is sustainable. They think that they can service this debt because they're the largest economy in the world. And then he said that when we making monetary policy, so when they making rules about money, they not worrying about you. They don't care what it's going to cost America because they two separate entities. They don't care what it's going to cost them as long as they can do what they got to do to bring inflation down, which means it's going to impact you even more. They don't care what you got to pay at the pump. They don't care what you got to pay for eggs. They don't care what you got to pay for rent. Because in Nevada, they said 97% of the people in Nevada feel like they got to work 75 hours, literally, just to keep a roof over their head. Watch this. If you love cryptocurrency, they just said there should be a rule in place. They're working about putting a rule in place to regulate digital assets. I'm telling y'all, the game is changing 100.
These are the people that control billions and billions of dollars, but are arguably the greatest hypocrites in the world. Again, you
have been in a good relationship for quite a...
Hey guys, so I was...
Butterfly. Did you know if you break a butterfly out of its cocoon?
Speaking of media being in bed with the government, yesterday President Biden held a press conference where he stumbled over sentences, talked about nuclear power with the president of South Korea. It was really, really embarrassing. But it's what Biden was holding in his hands, of course, that got the most attention. So while he was speaking, take a look at this. This is what he was holding in his hand, a couple of pages of cheat sheets there. And you'll notice what it says is Reporter Q&A. April 26, 2023, question number 1. And here's the reporter that's going to ask you that
every Republican in the House of Representatives voted to ban men and boys from women's sports, and not one Democrat joined them. Never forget how Democrats betrayed women and girls. Every Republican in the House of Representatives.
War has evolved. I'm telling you, war has evolved. I'm telling you, as a war fighter, we're not looking for tanks, planes, and guns anymore. If we are, we're decades behind. This is 5th generation warfare evolving into 6th generation warfare, which gets into the AI. What it is, it's silent, it's sophisticated, and it's all done through deceit. They're lying to us about so many things. I'm telling you, I've served at 6 different agencies over the years. I can tell you, I'm a national security whistleblower. And I lost my retirement out of it, but it was a righteous call. So what they can't withstand is exposure. And that's why I celebrate this. How many more event? Exposure. That's what evil and the silent ones cannot withstand. When we call them out and expose them, Americans don't know who the enemy is, and that's by design. You don't even know that you're under full-scale attack. There is a war being made. It's just that you're not fighting back because you're not being informed on it in good faith. You can go research it and verify everything. I'm telling you, everything that you're seeing all these other guests talk about are symptoms of this war being made upon the United States right now. At its core, it is spiritual. These people subscribe to a very dark and hostile agenda. Type into any search engine 45 communist goals. Overthrow our nation without firing a single shot. Yuri Bezmenov's lectures on ideological subversion. Russian KGB defector warned us very, very powerfully. We didn't listen. Read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, their playbook. Listen to Klaus Schwab and what he admits that they're after with Agenda 2030, the Great Reset, and all these things are a nightmare for us.